I'll wait and I'll tell it on the air.
Yeah, do it.
Welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. And joining us today, our very own North Central Cinema's Joe Smith, back to help us out. Everybody's getting ready for holiday movies. I want to talk to you guys about the genre debate kind of surrounding Christmas. I just want to have kind of an open flow to start it. Maybe we'll dive into some movies, some characters. I know you have a review or two for us for some new ones for this year. Mark, how are you feeling today?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
You are excited.
All right. Well, you're an English guy too.
I'm ready.
So this is a you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
Right? So hold on, I got to get it right. A priest, a monk, and a rabbit walk into the blood bank, and they look at him and say, "Do you know what blood type you are?" And the rabbit says, "I think I'm type O."
I'm not picking that up.
You get it?
That's the punchline.
No, I
A
didn't.
priest, a monk, and a rabbit.
Okay.
I think I'm type O.
Oh, okay. Typo.
That makes sense. That was good. No, that's a language arts.
We had to think about that one.
That's pretty
clever.
Joe, thanks for coming in today. Excited to do this.
How many people just turned off?
It's always some people are running across. Hey, you got to hear this. Really, really excited.
And there's a lot of other people going, I still don't get it.
So,
well, we've got some
I
time
think about it.
today, so let them figure it out.
We will. I'm excited for today. Usually you wait too long to do this kind of stuff. The day before December, I think this is perfect timing for this. Holiday movies, dive into it a little bit, maybe give some recommendations. We can debate some movies, some characters. I definitely want to talk about the genre at some point. And then I'm excited. You're going to talk to us about Spirited on Apple TV, and then A Christmas Story sequel. What is the actual name of it?
A Christmas Story Christmas.
Okay, we're going to talk. That's HBO, I believe.
HBO Max, yeah.
So excited to hear about those.
I was just going to say, I don't know if you can see his tie, but his tie
We got the
is
leg lamp
awesome.
here.
It is
really
awesome.
perfect.
And there is
It's fragile
or
fragile.
or one of the two.
Okay.
Fragile, that's a great line. So there is something about November 30th that there's still, you got lots of time.
Yes.
For all it, and then all of a sudden you wake up, tomorrow's December, and now the clock starts ticking.
Yeah.
So no,
I have tree up house decorated. Are you tree up house decorated?
No, I'm not.
Not yet. Are you tree up house decorated?
No,
Not really.
No.
Okay.
All right. We were gonna with the kids, and then the kids were decorating their mom's house, and then it just got to be
I'm a Black Friday house decorator, because if you wait after Black Friday, all of a sudden now you're a week into December. Now it's like you're only going to put this stuff up for. So I'm very Black Friday, get it done.
Well, Joe spends 12 hours shopping on Black Friday. He is store to store to store, so that's why he doesn't do
That's not at all. Here's the genre debate, and this is what I want to kind of propose to you guys. Everyone talks about is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
All that stuff. Yeah. See, and that's one of the debates. I want to go almost one step deeper. And here's my question. I think Christmas is unique because it is a day or a holiday that has its own genre. And here's what I mean by this. People will say, well, what about Halloween? And I will say that horror is the genre. It just happens to revolve around Halloween. You can have a horror movie that's not Halloween
No, I get
specific. People will say, what about Valentine's Day? Those are romance movies. You can have a romance movie that doesn't revolve around the day. Christmas is unique. Holiday movies are unique because the day almost defines the genre instead of the other way around. Yeah. Why does this work, Joe? Put you on the spot. Why is it that this one unique day, this one unique time of the year gets its own genre where it seems like other days fall into genres?
Well, you did put me on the spot, so I'm going to have to answer right from my gut, Jeff.
Okay.
There's something different about Christmas. If I could go so far, Christmas is the only holiday you can think of that has a supernatural element. God came into the world.
Okay.
We don't have a supernatural element on Thanksgiving or Valentine's. I mean, there are certain things associated with it, but there's something otherworldly, and that's why a lot of the Christmas movies have, for example, Christmas Carol. Okay. You've got supernatural. Mm-hmm. It's a Wonderful Life. You've got a supernatural element there. So I think there's something bigger about it. And G.K. Chesterton, a great writer who had his finger on the pulse of modern society, even though he was writing 100 years ago, he said, curiously, if you try to secularize Christmas completely and take all of the spiritual and supernatural elements out of it, you ruin all the fun. It's no fun anymore. And I think it's something to do with that. I think there's almost a magical element about it that you just don't find with other holidays. And I think that contributes to the success of the movies.
Do you think the time of the year matters, in which snowfall, it's, white outside, it's cold?
I don't know.
stuck
We should go to
inside.
Florida and see if they still
If
feel as
they still
Christmassy
feel
as we
the
do
same-
here.
They still feel the same way.
I think I was just in Mississippi. You were talking to me about Black Friday. On Black Friday, I was in Mississippi, and they were very Christmassy down there, even though it's
So
there's
it
no
can't be-
snow.
So I agree. So we're saying it's not the weather. It's not necessarily the time of the year. The supernatural aspect, I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't
The
put that
magic of
into
Christmas.
effort.
Yeah,
The
there's something
magic of
magical about it.
Christmas.
You don't talk about the magic of the 4th of July
Right.
or the magic of Labor Day. There's something different about Christmas. It's like a step up.
Okay. So with that being said, then you just said Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Without a doubt.
Now that
John McClane was a little magical. The way
that's what I was going to say is the way you just define the genre to me. Wouldn't that be a downside for Die Hard's argument as a Christmas movie? Because what you're saying to me is kind of what allows it to be its own genre is that kind of the idea of Christmas magic, the supernatural.
Well,
play.
I mean, you'll shoot your eye out. There was no magic in that.
In a
You're right.
Christmas
There's
Story.
not much. There's very little supernatural element in Christmas Story at all.
Yeah.
So we would have to go further and say that there's something about the universal love, brotherly love,
Mhm.
which you could squeeze that out of Die Hard because he's trying so hard to save these people.
Can I give you? So this
Yeah.
was the only.
He's
This was the
trying
only
so
element.
hard to save the woman who left him.
Yeah,
This was the only element.
sisterly love. Then
This was the only element that I could really come up with. It's like, but Thanksgiving falls into this a little bit too. You have the element of just kind of groups coming together that have these unbelievably complicated dynamics,
Mhm.
but they only collide during that time of the year.
Mm.
And so it lends itself to, like, as someone who has wrote a book before and you're trying to tie all those things together, it just kind of puts everybody in a place where you can come up with these great stories of whether it's redemption, finding yourself, finding your family, finding love, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Those dynamics lend themselves because of what the holiday season brings.
Well,
that element of coming together face to face.
And Christmas brings a mystery to it too that the 4th of July does not, because it's a
Okay.
historical event. Thanksgiving is not, because it's a historical event, even though we've got a lot of the history wrong.
Right.
Yeah, I think also the time of year people are indoors. It is cold. There's something magical. Not magical, maybe a corny word. Something about the snow that's beautiful, artistic, and although I just read a meme that, like, in these, you people think it's always glorious when the snow finally falls on Christmas. In the South, we have a panic and we shut everything down.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I think there's, it's Christmas is, well, first of all, it's the biggest, busiest holiday of the year, but it's about love and excitement and mystery and all those things. And you can go, and you can also make the same movie 1,000 times over and just show it on the Hallmark Channel with, different people, sometimes even the same people doing the same things in a different town. And it ends the same way and everyone watches it.
all right. So let that be the sum total of our remarks about Hallmark Christmas movies during this show. Okay, we got it out of the way.
How many do you watch a year? Like 2 or 3 a day?
Let me just put it this way, Mark. My mother is 87. Okay, and I go see her pretty regularly, so I have suffered through quite a number of those. And you're right, I can't tell one from the other. I'm like, did we watch this one last week? But she doesn't know, so I'm good with it.
I always think they're going to run out of names, and then they find more. They find more puns, and it's incredible. We can dive into. I know you have some reviews. Do you want to go reviews first? Or you want to just have a broad conversation?
Let me just hit two very quickly, and then we'll get them out of the way.
Yeah.
There's 2 new big ones right now that are getting a lot of attention. They finally managed a legit sequel to Christmas Story. The 1983, it was kind of a sleeper hit. Critics weren't crazy about it, and it only grew slowly in popularity till where now they have marathons, where they show the thing 12 times in a row. And they have done a couple sequels before. I think there's at least 2 other movies earlier that kind of died.
I know there was a part 2 because I own it.
Yeah. But this one returns a lot of the cast. It's streaming on HBO. And I was just looking at the reviews online, and people my age and a little bit younger who kind of grew up with the movie are really raving about it. It's it's not as funny and it's not as great as the first movie, but it's extremely nostalgic. They did everything just right. It looks the same. It sounds the same. There's all kinds of little visual tributes in the film. It's got the same, at least 3 of the same actors look almost exactly the same as they did 40 years ago.
Ralphie
it's crazy.
is himself.
Yeah.
Thrown up
Yeah, and Ralphie's little brother returns,
Okay.
Randy. His 2 friends, Flick and Schwartz. Scott Farkas. Farkas is
Okay.
a flunky named Grover Dill. He's only on for 1 scene, but it's him.
Okay.
And they look a lot the same. So it's really nostalgic. And it also, instead of being really goofy and funny like the first film, it's very emotionally powerful at the end. It kind of brings a little bit of a tear to your eye. And lots of people are saying this, not just me. So that's really well done. Are you guys Christmas Story fans of the first film? Or
I'll tell you this. It was recently, within maybe the last 5 years, that I came to that realization that I don't think I ever saw it from start to finish because it's always on. There are scenes I've seen 10 times.
And it's episodic, so you can watch a little of it.
You just flip through there. It is. And finally, a few years ago, I was like, I'm going to sit down and watch it one time through from start to finish. I like it. I like It's a Wonderful Life better. That's my favorite. But it's fun. I can't put my arms down. Those things you laugh every time you see it.
Yeah.
I had gotten over it, and it used to be like very close to my heart. I loved it. TBS started doing the marathon. And when they first started doing that, it's like, this is incredible. We're just going to leave it on TBS all day. And after a couple of years as a teenager, I remembered like, I can't watch this movie anymore. So I actually went a long span where I was like, I can't do this. Now that I have kind of removed myself from that teenage college years where like you're at home with your parents, now that I'm on my own, I watch it once a year and I love it. I really, really enjoy it.
So you're saying now that you're not a teenager and you're not a jerk anymore?
Do you think that's what it is?
Well, I think most teenagers are a little self-absorbed.
I think
I
to some degree, I sense. I read something about this years ago, and I haven't done it recently, but I sense that's the same journey that Billingsley had.
Okay.
Peter Billingsley, who played Ralphie, he's just sick and as he's growing up, and everyone's talking about the movie, and it's getting more and more famous. Yeah. He's sick and tired of hearing it. He's sick and tired of people recognizing him. Yeah. He's sick and tired of people bugging him to make another movie about it. But now it's 40 years later, and he's finally got the distance, and he's like, yeah, I can look back. The movie was pretty legit, and it's not really a bad idea to acknowledge how great it was. So he was exec producer and screenwriter on this. It was co-produced by Vince Vaughn. Vaughn's not in it, but apparently there's some of his creative energy there. So he's come to terms with it, and I think the movie is very much him coming to terms with that. So it's called A Christmas Story Christmas, and fans of the movie tend to really like it a lot.
If you're a fan of A Christmas Story, there was a great piece, I think it might have been on The Ringer, but it was a great piece about how it is an incredible middle-class story.
Right.
And how now with movies, you very rarely get a middle-class story. It's usually someone trying to rise up from, to get to the middle class or above, or it's some world that you just can't relate to, right? So like right now we have a lot of these entrepreneurial crashes, right? And they're doing all these series of movies. And so there's this great article about how it's a middle class story and how like we just don't have it anymore. And so it's a really good piece to watch if you want to see, because it's relatable for more people than not.
Just like White Lotus.
Of middle class. Did you watch White Lotus?
No.
There's no one middle class in that movie.
We talked about it. I told Jeff, he went into this long, big summary of it. I was like, from what I've heard, I haven't seen the episode. What I've heard is rich people and sex, and that's all. That's what I've heard about White Lotus.
I just think, we can just transition for a second. No, because you watched the first season of White Lotus. Sure. I said there's a relatable awkwardness to the White Lotus that even though you yourself can't relate to the character, we've all been in situations that are incredibly awkward. You don't know exactly how to feel or what to think. And the White Lotus is so good at making you feel that anxiety, that awkwardness.
And the second season even more than the first.
Yes.
It's almost difficult to watch.
Yes. So I really, really enjoyed that. The second movie, I'm very excited for.
Spirited.
Yes.
And, I just get this out there. I am a Christmas Carol junkie.
Okay.
I reread the book every year. So I've probably read it 20 times at this point.
It's a novella. That's why he reads it. It's short.
Yeah, there you go. And I actually keep track. I've seen like 30 different versions of it. And so I was a little hesitant about this because it's obviously something a little bit. It's a musical, and it's set in the modern era, and it's not a version of the story. It's kind of a sequel, but it's got the creds. It's got Will Ferrell. He's got the Christmas movie creds, right? And it's got Ryan Reynolds and Octavia Spencer, and the rest of the cast is lesser known, but they're also really dynamite. And I'll try not to spend too much time on this, but the gig here is that the spirit world that haunted Scrooge and achieved his redemption in the first story is now this almost an industry, and they've got hundreds of people who work for them. And every January they pick one miserable soul like Scrooge and they plan the whole year to redeem him at the end of the year at Christmas by haunting him with the past, present, and future. So this year, current time period, they picked this crazy, superficial, cold, ruthless, heartless PR guy played by Ryan Reynolds. And he's actually been officially labeled irredeemable. But Will Ferrell, who plays the Ghost of Christmas Present, really wants to try anyway. And so it morphs into something way more than that. There's a couple of love stories. And then suddenly the Ghost of Christmas Present starts having to deal with his own problems. And then there's a relationship between him and the Ryan Reynolds character. And just to throw one more thing out there, well, first of all, I should point out that neither Spencer nor Ferrell nor Reynolds has any experience singing and dancing. So this was a huge learning curve for them. And they all sound pretty good. Spencer sounds dynamite. I mean, she sounds like she could go out and make a CD. But to be honest with you, there are times when one of them is holding a pitch for so long. I mean, I'm not a bad singer, and I can't hold a pitch for a long time without wavering a little bit. Even Sinatra couldn't do it perfectly. And I'm thinking somebody played with that in post-production because it's too perfect. So I'm not sure how much of their own singing got maybe a little bit reworked. But Reynolds, I haven't seen a lot of Reynolds' films. I don't think I've seen him better than he is here. He's really, really sophisticated.
So here's my problem, because I have Apple TV.
Okay.
And I'm so excited. I have been ready for this movie because I don't know if you remember or not. They did some promotional stuff on social media with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. So
I'm sure that was a riot to watch.
It's hilarious. And they do a couple of like musical things. And so for 12 months, I have been like ready for this. I'm almost stuck in a position where I'm not scared to watch it, but like I want it to be like, I want there to be snow outside. I want to be stuck inside. Like I almost want it to be closer to Christmas. Like,
I see. Okay.
Like I'm so excited for this movie that just to watch it on a random night almost doesn't suffice for me.
You sound like a chick talking about a wedding.
Go ahead.
I need it to be perfect.
Kind of.
I want the flowers.
I'm that excited for this movie.
My
remember when? I'm sure you can't relate to this anymore, but remember being young and excited for things. Mark has a hard time with that now.
I still feel that way every day.
Thank you.
Oh, the old age joke.
You're not excited for this?
That's so
funny.
Excited.
You're excited for this, aren't you?
I mean, I'll watch it.
Oh, but you're not. It's not like
sometimes that can backfire on you, Jeff. And I've had this in my own life that I'm like, I've been looking for this movie for a year and a half. And then sometimes my enthusiasm for it actually prevents me from seeing how genuinely good it was because I had this picture in my mind.
Well, that's what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say I don't want it to be over because I've waited so long. I like always want to be like, hey, I can watch that.
Yeah. And
that it won't live up to the hype that you've created in your head.
I am a little nervous. However, what's made me feel better is since it's been released, people like you have told me it's great.
Yeah.
Like, so that makes me. So now it's kind of like now I want it to be. So I've considered like, do I have like a party? Do I have people come over? Do I wait till Christmas Eve? You know, like trying to figure out like when to watch this thing. So I feel
definitely watch it with other people.
Okay.
And you know, it might not
saying
go
that so they can explain you the jokes that you didn't
the
get.
ones that I don't understand.
It might not go exactly where you expect because it's very different, but it is funny.
Okay.
It's some of the jokes die, and this always happens with modern comedy, but some of them really work. It's loaded with energy. There's tons of dance. The music is actually quite good. The tunes are very catchy, and you're almost like, boy, I'd watch it again just so I could listen to those tunes all over again because they're so well written.
And Ryan Reynolds is at his best when he can do Deadpool things, and I don't mean like superhero things where he can be a jerk.
Well, what he's got to do here is, I mean, I don't think I'm giving anything away to say that he's heading for redemption like Scrooge, so he has to let that emerge very slowly. where it's convincing that someone who's that big of a jerk and so totally cold-hearted, that there's something still alive inside. And that's where he's, and you have to watch very carefully to see that happening with him, because his character is actually trying to cover it up. Whenever it starts to emerge, he has to clamp down on it and pretend he was just faking it. So it's a very sophisticated acting job by him, I thought. And they really crunched the ending on it too.
Okay.
So I won't say too much more than that.
No, it's actually not the first time he's been in a Christmas movie, because in Just Friends, he has to play a pretentious, like Hollywood exec, who then goes home and has to basically admit to himself that he has become a jerk in order to win his former lover.
Okay.
Yes. Well, not former lover, but a girl that put him in the friend zone. Let's just say that. Just Friends is maybe the most underrated Christmas movie of all time.
Is it?
You don't think so?
I think, you know what happened? I think you loaned it to me.
Just Friends? You don't have a DVD player.
And then I think I gave it back.
No, you didn't.
Which is really neat, because like I loan you movies and I never see them again.
Very bitter for a holiday episode. You are very, very bitter today. I feel bad.
Who else is in Just Friends? I don't know that film.
Amy
Amy Smart.
Amy Smart.
It's okay.
It's really good.
Amy Smart is a lot better in the movies,
and then
where
Anna
she takes
Faris,
off her clothes.
And then Anna Faris plays not an antagonist, but Anna Faris is the LA superstar who was dating the Hollywood exec.
Okay.
They end up
and that movie is set at Christmas time?
It is one of listen, I'm not implying it's one of the greatest like Christmas comedies ever, but it is unbelievably underrated. Like most people have never heard of it, and it is very enjoyable. You don't think so?
It's fine. It's fine. You'll watch it and you'll be like, oh, that's fine.
Can I go in a different direction for just a
please.
minute? I'm going to make Mark happy here and tell him, if someone says to me, hey, you're a critic, tell me the 5 greatest movies ever made.
I'm ready.
Vertigo.
Yep.
Some Like It Hot. The Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain, and It's a Wonderful Life.
Wow.
So Mark just said that was his favorite Christmas movie. I think we have to go there next and talk about
If I
that
never
one.
told you this story, and people, the listeners, hang on our every word, so they know this. I was in my mid-20s, and I was living in Baltimore, and they had a single standalone theater like the Ritz in Muncie used to be, or like the Capitol was back in the day. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's from down, who's a huge movie buff. Like you and him could talk for days. And so what are you doing today? He goes, I'm going to the Senator Theater, which is this, to watch It's a Wonderful Life for a quarter. And I was like, why would you do that? He goes, because it's a Wonderful Life on the big screen for a quarter.
Yeah.
And
that sounds like a no-brainer to me.
And
Mark.
I just said, well, I don't know. He said, have you ever seen it? And I said, no. And he said, I'm paying your quarter and you are going with me, and we're going to. So the first time I ever saw It's a Wonderful Life was on the big screen.
Wow.
And then I don't know if it immediately started, but then when we young kids and your kids go to bed on Christmas Eve, and then you wrap everything, and every Christmas Eve it's on.
Yeah.
So it became a pattern of every Christmas Eve I watch. So it has probably been, my oldest daughter is 21. I'm going to say it's probably been 20 years, give or take, that I watch it every Christmas Eve. And even the one year they had college football games, the 2 semifinals were on, and the last one ended at like 12:30. And then I started It's a Wonderful Life.
And that's a pretty long movie.
But now my kids, it's like 2:18. For an old movie, it was long. My kids watch it with me. It's part of the nighttime routine. And so yeah, I love it.
So you don't find that it gets old watching it year after year?
Never. I find new stuff. Well, Jimmy Stewart's just unbelievable.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's the greatest actor this country produced.
I've never gotten bored with it.
Yeah.
But I only watch it once a year. Like I never throw it in June just because I watch it once a year, and that is the magic of Christmas to me. Have you ever been? I'm gonna jump in here. Have you ever been to Seneca Falls, New York?
I've been through it. I've never been there as a tourist destination.
Because it is what they basically think that it was based upon. Tom Woodruff and I went up and did a video thing of why they think it was.
The bridge is actually there, right?
The bridge is there.
Yeah.
A guy jumped off the bridge in like the 19-teens to save a girl drowning.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because in the original script, supposedly in the original script, Capra had George on the bridge, but Clarence talked him off from jumping. And Capra, it's all this thing, had a relative that lived in a close by, because that's what they figure is that you do all the things. There's mentions of a lot of places. There's mentions of Rochester. There's mentions of in the original script, his brother Harry went to Cornell, but they took that out because they didn't want to have any like rules, like were they allowed to say Cornell, and they didn't want to fight it. But there's a lot of local mentions. What's her name? Violet Bick was going to move to the city. But there's also this little Italian barber who lived there for years who remembered. He's like, yeah, I gave the guy a haircut because we talked about Italy and his name was Capra and blah, blah, blah. And we talked about it. And this guy's barbershop was right down the road from the bridge. So as they put all this together, they think that he based it on Seneca Falls and then just called it Bedford Falls. But they do a festival every winter. And
you went.
And we went last year.
And you jumped off the bridge.
We did not jump off the bridge, but Zuzu's there. Zuzu's still alive.
That's right. She's still alive. Carolyn Grimes.
There are
she's 83 or something like that.
A couple of her siblings are still alive. It's a really, really neat place. You would like it. And they have a museum that is just, I could spend 3 hours.
Can I ask you guys a very millennial question that'll keep that conversation going? Jimmy Stewart. I think he's very interesting. I always enjoy him. I never would have imagined him being like the best actor that America has ever created. But I'm also a millennial and I'm young. So please enlighten me on what it is about Jimmy Stewart that like
it's the variety of stuff that he did, Jeff. Like he made 8 films with a director named Anthony Mann, and 5 of them were westerns. And every one of those westerns is absolutely top rate. There's one called The Naked Spur, Man from Laramie. I'm blanking on a couple of the others. But in those, he's not the sort of, rural sort of rube or friendly all-American. He's pissed off in some of those films and comes riding down the street with his gun out. And you're like, wow, that's Jimmy Stewart. This is not the Jimmy Stewart that I'm used to. He's such a tough guy, and he's so mad, and he's so intractable. And so you could see this huge variety of stuff that he could do. He could also be very sophisticated at times. He could be a World War II, and the guy probably made 60 or 70 movies, and just a huge, from somebody who was in his 20s to somebody who was in his 70s, just a very wide variety of stuff, and also the number of truly amazing films that he was in. You could pick probably 10 or 15 genuinely excellent American classics.
Not that he's a challenge, but I think it's weird now because I think there's a lot of people my age and younger that when they think of Jimmy Stewart, there's one Jimmy Stewart,
right?
And it's a Wonderful Life, and that is so. It was very interesting. That caught my ear when you had said that because I just never have had that conversation before, would have imagined.
Yeah, watch The Man from Laramie sometime. Okay. It's a little dated because it was made in the 50s, but. I'm sorry,
I was gonna say I had a friend after I told him like my love affair with It's a Wonderful Life. He made me watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. We were on a plane. We worked together, and he had it on his laptop, and he would like put his laptop on my tray table. He's like, "Watch this," and it's the only time I've seen it. I've wanted to go back and see it again, but I was riveted. Yeah. So those are I've seen half of Philadelphia Story, and I haven't got through that yet. But he's in that too.
He's in one of the Thin Man movies. That was a very, very early film of his. And then there's a classic called The Flight of the Phoenix, made in the 60s. It's a plane crash movie.
They redid that, right?
Yeah, they remade it.
Remake
but the one with
good.
It was all right, but not as good as the original.
Yeah. All right, back to Christmas.
Yes.
Die Hard. Yes.
So
Die Hard. You think it's Christmas movie?
Without a doubt.
I disagree. Christmas movie?
I have only seen Die Hard once, and it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it never occurred to me that it was a Christmas movie at the time. So
you know why? Because it's not.
Okay.
It's set at a Christmas party.
So I just accidentally voted on your side without really knowing it.
It is set at a Christmas party.
Okay.
How can it not be a Christmas movie?
No, the setting certainly is. I can't dispute the fact that the setting is a Christmas time movie. But like to call it a Christmas movie, I don't know. I mean, what's the famous line? He does wish them a Merry Christmas at one point.
Yippee-ki-yay is one of the lines.
I guess he doesn't say Merry Christmas.
He writes something on Santa Claus in the elevator. Yeah. I don't know. But I don't know. I'll tell you.
It goes back to my genre point of like, what is it? It's unique.
Is it a redemptive movie where something is healed at the end? I think yes.
His love affair with his wife who left him for some guy.
Yeah.
And it happened during Christmas.
It happened.
There is a lack of snow.
They're in LA.
And I'm just saying, there's a lack of winter weather.
I was gonna say, and to Joe, my most underrated Christmas movie is Serendipity. Did you ever see Serendipity?
I don't think I've seen that one. I think we actually own that, and I don't think I've ever watched it.
I think
Can
Is that Kate
before you-
Beckinsale?
Kate Beckinsale and
Cusack.
John
and
Cusack?
John Cusack.
Right.
Can I? My girlfriend does not like Serendipity. Does not like Serendipity, which you know my girlfriend. Which is she likes she will read a romantic novel. She will watch a romantic movie. She can be very gushy, like she likes that kind of stuff. Serendipity, she said, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. She goes, it doesn't make any sense. She's out on Serendipity.
How long ago did you find this out, and why didn't you break up with her at that point?
Well, I found this out 2 weeks ago.
So you were too far in.
Too far in.
You're like, I can't dump
There's
you over
nothing
this.
I could do.
If you'd have found out
Are
2
we-
weeks in.
Are we still on audio wise?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh,
Okay.
why did you go?
Yeah,
I got
we're
the
still
icon
here.
that says Mike is muted.
Oh, no, yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
It does
because
that
you
every
go
now and
through this guy who's plugged
So
into
what
ours.
we should take Mark's lead though, and what we should do is each of us should pick one or two like under the radar.
Yeah.
Like so, you had Serendipity. I'll throw two out there.
Okay.
I would suggest, just for the hell of it, sometime, Mark, you watch The Bishop's Wife. It may be not quite
That's-
your cup of
It's
tea,
funny you mentioned
but
that.
Carolyn
Go ahead.
Grimes is in that movie, and so is Bobby Anderson. And Bobby Anderson played the young George when he was working for in the drugstore.
Mr. Gower.
Yeah, when he was working for Mr. Gower. That young actor is also in.
Okay.
The minute he comes on, you're like, wow, that's George Bailey. Cary Grant, David Niven, Loretta Young. A little corny, but very well, and a great performance by. It's almost like a second cousin to It's a Wonderful Life
It's
because it has
funny-
an angel theme to it.
It's funny you mentioned that because our guest tomorrow
Yes.
is going to be local movie legend Tom Woodruff
Oh, okay.
is coming in, and he told me that I should watch that, and that is his favorite Christmas movie.
Wow.
The Bishop's
Okay.
Wife.
So there's two votes.
He loves it.
I think you would like you'd be fascinated by the interconnections, and the time period's almost the same.
Yes.
I think Bishop's Wife is 47. I'm not sure.
Okay, I was going to say 51, but
That would
right
be a
on.
plug for me. And then there's a Netflix product from about 2 years ago called Klaus, Klaus. It's animated, and it's got really high online ratings. So people who watch it are like, wow, that was a really good movie. And what it is it's a Santa Claus origin story of like how all the traditions, the reindeer and the sleigh and the chimney and the notes and the coal and all that stuff, how it all came about. It's got an explanation for everything in it, but it just looks fantastic. It's hand drawn. When was the last time you saw a hand drawn animated movie? Like a new one, like maybe never, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So Klaus is really good, and The Bishop's Wife. Those are two of my favorite under the radar Christmas movies. Do you guys have
Not
any
as
of those?
good as whatchamacallit.
Just Friends.
Just
No,
Friends.
we kind of talked about Just Friends. It's a rom-com-y set during Christmas. It's the whole you're going home, you see your crush from high school. How do you win her over 10 years later? Ryan Reynolds at the peak of his powers. I really, really enjoy it.
I got another one. You got another one?
Well, I was going to say, because this isn't certainly one of the best, but I watch it every single year, and it's one of my favorite, is A Muppet's Christmas Carol.
Oh yeah.
Michael Caine is in it. Obviously, the whole Jim Henson Muppet stuff. There's something, corny as it is, there's just something.
Can I just throw
magical
one
about
thing
it.
in
Go
there?
for it.
Mr. Cratchit, here are today's eviction notices. Kermit says, but Mr. Scrooge, it's Christmas. And Scrooge says, fine, you may gift wrap them, which is not in the book and is really hilarious.
Well, and
I never
Gonzo-
watched it. He told me it's his
Yes.
favorite. And I said, I know I own it because we had little kids, and I bought it for, I found it somewhere for $3.50. And I was like, well, I'll get it and then we'll watch it someday. And I said, I don't ever think we watched it. And I watched it a couple years ago because he told me to. And it is awesome.
It's really enjoyable, and they're on YouTube. You can find it, and if you've never seen the movie, watch the movie. However, if you're a fan of the movie on YouTube, you can see all the scenes of just Gonzo and the rat.
Okay.
And it's worth.
They
the
are
8
funny.
minute-
Yeah.
The 8 minutes of just Gonzo and the rat and them kind of moving the story along for you is just ingenious, and it's really well done. And so those would be my two kind of like. Not
Can
really
I
below the
piggyback on
radar,
that for a
but
minute?
yeah.
I do love Christmas Carol very much, and that is a legit fantastic version. If I can, I'll try to keep this brief, and it might be a little bit esoteric, but there's this weird thing with Dickens's characters, is on the page, they're very superficial.
Mhm.
He rarely has a rounded character who has like real psychological problems like you would see in a modern day novel. Most of the characters are either good or bad, or they switch rapidly from one to the other. All of them are defined by usually by a certain mannerism, like something that like the guy in Oliver Twist who keeps saying, "I'll eat my hat." So Dickens's characters are almost cartoonish, and yet no one has been able to figure out how does he do that with these characters that are so apparently flat, and yet they're so alive.
Mhm.
And that's why I think a Muppet is a perfect representation of a Dickens character, because the Muppet, you look at it and you go, the dang thing is artificial. Everybody knows it's artificial. Why am I talking to it? Because it's clearly, there's something about it that's so alive. So these Muppets are perfect representations of the way Dickens created characters. You can name them as patently artificial, and yet they're so alive that famous actors come on the show and talk to them like they're talking to a human being. So it's a very it really reminds me of Dickens's characters.
Yeah. No,
So-
to your it works. Like to that, just to dumb down what you said. Yes, it works.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, you're like, yes, it works.
No, but it works. The reason is
you
exactly
dumbed
what
it
he
down
said.
very well.
The
Good
reason
job.
is exactly what he said, but like to just in summation, it works.
It
Yeah,
works.
I got one that's not. I don't really think it's a Christmas story, but there's snow in it a lot, so it's seasonal. Have you ever seen Beautiful Girls?
Oh yeah. Oh, I love that movie.
I watch it every year.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
Is
so good.
it a Christmas movie?
It's
He's
very.
home for a holiday.
He's home for Christmas
Okay.
holiday.
Is it
Yeah.
Christmas
Yeah,
or
I'm
is it
pretty sure.
Thanksgiving?
Okay.
But there's a lot of snow, so I assume it's Christmas. But Beautiful Girls, and I don't know why they can't. I think the title's misleading. I think they could have come more with a
Stupid Guys would be a better title for the movie.
something. The stupid goons you grew up with, or something like that.
And why do women love them?
But
Yeah.
I watch it every year. It's got a really little Natalie Portman who plays the neighbor girl.
Yeah, she is so good in that.
It is. It's such a sweet. If you're for small town people, if you live in a city, you probably don't get it. But for all of us who live in small town Pennsylvania, like we can all relate to it. We have these friends, and then there's the guy who went away, and he lives in the big city, and he comes home, and it's just.
So in support of Mark, listen to this.
Yeah.
Matt Dillon, Noah Emmerich, Annabeth Gish. She's not someone that you're familiar with, but she does a great job. Lauren Holly, Tim Hutton, Rosie O'Donnell, Martha Plimpton, Natalie Portman, Michael Rappaport, Mia Sorvino, Uma Thurman, and David Arquette, and John Carroll Lynch. I mean, that is a huge
loaded
cast.
cast.
What year was it made?
Let's see.
20 years ago.
Okay.
It's
Late
it's a
90s?
90s film, I think. Yeah.
Rappaport.
96.
Rappaport is great.
Yeah.
Rappaport is. It's if you've never, you will like it.
It's
You will really
these guys
like
are
it.
all they're all so dumb, and they can't see the value of the women who are in love with them. They're out drinking or looking for other women, and you just can't figure out why. And then Rosie O'Donnell has this rant in there about how men are seeking this anatomically perfect woman. It's absolutely hilarious, but it's so spot on. And by the way, the guy that wrote that film is the same guy that wrote Con Air. He was like, I'm so tired of writing. He actually went home for one Christmas holiday, and he was like, this is way more interesting than the junk that I've been writing for action movies. And he actually wrote the script, I think, in a matter of days, like 5 or 6 days.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd heard that the chick who wrote Clueless had been trying to write drama and was finally like, screw it, I'm gonna try to be funny, and wrote Clueless, and it hit.
Yeah.
So it done that is surprising. Con Air is a big jump.
Yep.
It is a big jump from Con Air to
Beautiful Girls.
You
yeah.
should check out.
I'm
Beautiful
glad
Girls.
you mentioned that.
And
that's in my book, by the way, Mark. The best movies you never saw. It's in there.
I love it.
Yep.
If Hannah doesn't like that, then we are done.
Yep.
I will.
It'll
She
be the
does not have to
litmus test.
unfriend me. I will unfriend her.
Wow.
I'll use it as the litmus test. So your favorite is It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite?
Wow, that's tough. I really like It's a Wonderful Life,
Okay.
but I also have to watch Christmas Carol. And I'm going to throw one more thing out there. The Jim Carrey version is really good too.
Okay.
A lot of people said, look, it's got Jim Carrey in it. It's going to be over the top. It's stupid. I'm not seeing it. But Charles Dickens's great-great-grandson, his name is Gerald Charles Dickens. He used to come down to the Country Cupboard every Christmas, and do a one-man performance of Christmas Carol, which is what Charles Dickens himself used to do. So his great-great-grandson is doing. He would do it as a two-part. There was an intermission. It was about maybe 2 or 2.5 hours long, and he was standing by the stage getting ready to go on. And I went over to him and I said, can I just ask you, do you have a movie version of Christmas Carol that you're fond of? And he said, I really like the Jim Carrey version. I think my great-great-grandfather would have liked it too, because it's scary. And Dickens always thought of Christmas Carol as a scary movie. So that's Robert Zemeckis. And, he's got a good track record. Forrest Gump, Back to the Future.
He's done all right.
Polar Express. It looks good. It's faithful to the book. It's got a little goofiness in it, but it's generally faithful to the book. Carrey is really good. He clamps down on a little, and of course at the end he has to transition to someone who's a little more down to earth. So I really like to watch that. I think it's very well done.
Am I the only one that does not think Polar Express is good?
I'm not fond of that film.
I don't love
I'll be
Polar
honest with you.
Express.
Hey, oh, good.
Well,
look at that.
Wow, the three of us agreed on something.
So have you ever read the theory, Polar Express? So there's this weird dynamic now, and they're doing a ton of studies on this because of the AI stuff that's coming out.
Mhm.
So all the digital renderings, there's this weird point where, as humans, when we see something that looks too real, but we know it's not, it weirds us out. Like, we psychologically will not accept what we're looking at.
Okay.
And when Polar Express first came out, now they are doing these AI studies, and they think that is the cause for why people that dislike it have such a dislike, because I think it looks weird. Like, I think, and now they're doing these studies, and they're like, they think it looked at the time almost too real.
But the CGI doesn't look that great
But
anymore.
people knew it wasn't real.
Yeah.
And so people were kind of like, this doesn't, and they're doing like this whole thing. There's that, and there's one other, there was one other animated movie that has kind of not a, like, it's like almost like the reverse of a cult following. It's like a cult hating. Like, Polar Express has a little bit of like a cult
You don't remember what it is?
I'm trying to think of what it was, but they're finding in these studies the same thing. Like, the CGI was pushed too far to a point where people were like, wow, that looks really real, but I know it's not, and it's messing with it.
I think the story was just,
For you, it wasn't the animation. For you, it was different.
and the whole like believe at the end. It was so much. It was so dreary, and the enlightening and the awakening at the end just wasn't worth it. I don't know. I thought it was just
This is going to be corny too. I'm not like a train person. Like, you know how like little kids are fascinated by like trucks or trains and stuff. Like, trains for me are not something I've ever been.
What about when Denzel's running across it trying to stop it?
Unstoppable?
That's a different matter.
That's
a
a
great
but
movie.
that's not a train movie. That's a Denzel movie.
Amen.
I'm sorry, Unstoppable is a train movie. Take it from a rail fan.
That is a great.
You know, they
movie.
filmed a lot of that around
Yeah.
here.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We were talking about it the one day.
Yes.
No, I don't. I'm like you. I don't know if I have a favorite.
Do you have,
like, I
do you have,
enjoy the
do you have
genre,
one that
but-
you don't get other
A
than
Christmas
Polar
movie-
Express?
A Christmas movie I don't get.
Yeah,
Miracle on 34th Street. I don't like. I don't. I get the movie. I don't understand why people love it. I like it's to me. It's.
I watched
good.
that too. I'm the same with it.
All right.
I watched it and I was like, I'm supposed to love this, and I don't.
I don't understand.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to throw one other one out there that is my wife's favorite Christmas movie, and we watch it every year, which is Home Alone. And that was another movie that I came to kind of late, because as a film critic, I'm kind of like, isn't this the kind of movie I'm supposed to not like? You know, it's like, it's kind of formulaic, and it's, very silly. I mean, the stuff that happens in that movie would never happen in real life. But as I kept watching it over and over with my kids, I'm thinking, they really pushed all the buttons here. You know, they pushed the family button and the possible mysterious killer who lived next door button, and the underdog button, and the family reunion button, and the Christmas button. And I thought they really did it. And the music is good, and the script is good.
On Netflix, they do the movies that made us. Have you watched these at all?
No, I
Ever
haven't.
heard of
No.
this? So you can look it up. It's called The Movies That Made Us, and they do like these 40. Have you watched it before? They do these like 40 to 50 minute deep dives.
I've
but
seen
they're
it
very,
on clickbait.
Yeah. So,
No.
but it's very like fast paced, moving, funny, sarcastic. But they basically walk you through how the movies are made, and Home Alone is one of them.
Yeah.
And I won't ruin like the whole thing because it is worth watching. But one of the things that they talk about, and what a lot of people don't know, is they had to remake the entire house. So the house you're seeing on the outside set pieces is not the inside set.
Well, that's the case with almost every film.
Okay, well, there you go. Because
the outside of the house and the inside are not the same.
okay, because they had to, because of like the pranks, the booby traps, because of the elaborateness of them, like to swing the paint can down the stairwell, you need the ceiling to be significantly higher than what it actually is.
Sure.
So they go through and they show you how they did it. It's really, really neat to see how they pulled it off.
I will look at that.
Speaking of that, I saw on the news just last night that the Christmas Story house is for sale again.
Oh yeah.
And the guy who's owned it has owned it for maybe 20 years, and he has it totally done. And it's a museum now, and
it looks exactly the same as it used to.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And they said how many people come to see it every year, but right now it is up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask this just to kind of? I love the old school like claymation.
Oh, everybody does.
Okay, I see, but that's funny because
I hope
it's funny because I feel now more than ever, and maybe it's just because there's so much to watch and there's so much to do. Nobody ever really brings them up or talks about them anymore. But I mean, those old claymation Rudolphs and Frosties, and they are like.
Are there others besides those two, Jeff? Something's telling me there is. Oh, there's an Abominable Snowman.
The Abominable Snowman.
I think there's one too.
With Cornelius.
Yeah.
And the Island of Misfit
I think
Toys.
that this would be my guess. Okay. Everyone from a certain age and up loves them.
Yeah.
Like, would my kids like them now? No, probably not. But if you saw them growing up, you go back. I just watched. I kind of went out of my way to watch The Grinch the other day because I was watching something, probably a football game, and I heard it was going to be on Friday night at 8. And it was with
Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff is singing, and the cartoon, and I was like, oh, Friday night at 8, I'm watching The Grinch, and I was there on the couch, and I was ready to go, and those old ones.
I've enjoyed. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I also like the Charlie Brown Christmas. That's another one I have to watch every year. That
my
works.
mom listens to that on repeat in the kitchen. You
mean the music?
The music,
yeah.
Yes. It's her favorite Christmas album.
Here's a Christmas present. They just did a 5-disc extra of that with all kinds of outtakes, demos, Vince Guaraldi trying to work with the kids and getting them to sing. So good Christmas present for mom.
He can get it for her because she never watches us, so she never saw it.
Number one fan, love you, Mom. I have really enjoyed, because you brought up the Grinch. I have really enjoyed the most recent Grinch. So obviously Jim Carrey did the one, which I enjoyed. I didn't think it was great, but I liked it. They recently just did one.
Yeah, with Benedict Cumberbatch.
It is really enjoyable.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Really, really enjoyable.
I almost consider that it made a lot of money, but I almost named that as an under the radar movie because everyone completely forgot about it. And Audrey Geisel, Seuss's widow, I think was involved in that film a little bit, so that she kind of signed off on it. Yeah. And it's longer. They give you more backstory on it, but the animation looks good. Its heart is definitely in the right place, right? Yeah, that's a very well done version.
Is there anyone in America that doesn't like Christmas Vacation? Is it possible to not like Christmas Vacation?
I really, really like Christmas Vacation. The people who put it in like their top 5, it would never be in my top 5.
But I Christmas really movies?
Yes.
It's not in your top 5.
I don't think so.
No, not mine either.
But I enjoy it. Like, it's an enjoyable movie, but I don't think it would make like my top 5.
You know, Mark, people are allowed to have different opinions than you. This is the way the world works.
To have stupid opinions. Well, actually,
I disagree.
As Americans, we are entitled to all of our stupidity. No, I'm with it. It's my God, Cousin Eddie.
No, listen. I've made this argument to my cousins and friends before. The characters are better than the movie. And so, like,
that's a good observation.
Everything you're going to tell me isn't wrong. Like, you're going to say, like, oh, Cousin Eddie and the tree scene and the squirrel. And you're going to tell me all these things, and I'm going to say to you, like, yes, but those things are like outliers within a movie that I enjoyed, not loved. Yeah. So I get it. Like, I'm not sitting here saying it's not in my top 25. I'm just saying, like, when people make their list. I'm just saying when people make their list and they're like, Christmas Vacation is number 3. I'm like, I disagree.
Of all time movies, no. Of Christmas movies, I don't see how it's not in your top 5. It's the funniest. It is so funny. It's so funny. Every year.
No one will disagree with that.
When she
good cast.
When she starts singing the national anthem and the rockets red glare and I pledge allegiance to oh my gosh. It is great.
Okay. I think there's a Chevy Chase element to it too, where, like, I'm trying to think how to say this. I enjoyed the humor of Bill Murray more than Chevy Chase. And those are two very different, like to like one and not the other, I think is very reasonable. I don't always understand Chevy Chase's humor. Like I struggle. Maybe it's because I'm younger. Maybe it's because I'm just not as wise as you. I've always struggled.
True.
I've always struggled with Chevy Chase.
Yeah, he's had a lot of misses. I'm not saying,
but I have uncles that like praise to Chevy Chase. Like nobody was funnier than Chevy Chase.
I don't know about that, but I don't know how you Christmas Vacation. Wow,
that's good. Any last thought? You want to take it? Last thought. What do you got? It's okay if you don't have one.
I was just trying to think of other like wintertime Christmas movies.
Have you guys ever seen or heard of a movie called Joyeux Noël? It's French.
No.
It's about the World War I truce.
Okay.
You know that famous story?
Mm-hmm.
Paul McCartney's song "Pipes of Peace,"
Okay.
where what was it? French? I think it was. Was it French? Yes, French and German soldiers had a 24-hour truce. They were facing each other across the trenches, but they decided they would celebrate Christmas together. And they exchanged presents. They had drinks. They sang a little, and then they went back to killing each other. But this actually happened, and Joyeux Noël is a pretty good movie version of that story. Yeah,
I did not know that.
And it's just around those 24 hours.
Yep. I'm not even sure it was 24 hours.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but it's just it's a great story because it actually happened.
Okay.
And did Washington cross the Delaware on Christmas?
Yep.
Christmas Day.
So there's a Christmas movie that hasn't been made yet.
There we go.
Right? Well, we got that because one more movie that Bruce Willis could make.
Cousin wrote it. Well, Crude. Is it Crude the word? He was on the crew team at Bucknell. You would know him, Tyler Bagaccia.
I remember Tyler very well.
He crewed at Bucknell, and I would always pick on him and say, America's greatest rower of all time was George Washington, which you disagree because
he didn't row.
You're like, there's no way he rowed.
He just stood there.
All right, look, but the guy on crew who stands in the back of the boat and yells at the other guys, he's doing it too, right? So that's Washington. So that's okay. He gets away
I'll tell you
with
another one that I thought was underrated that doesn't get enough is Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn and
I don't think I've seen that one.
what's
Mark.
the oh my gosh, she was in Wild. What was her name?
Reese
Witherspoon.
Oh, is she in that too? Okay. I'm a big fan.
I thought
of
it was
hers.
good because I think they're both from divorced families and they had to go to all, and it brings out the awkwardness of taking someone to meet your family, and then sometimes the discomfort, especially when you're an adult, of going home to see certain family members that sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. And just the pressure of it's Christmas Day and we have to be here and we have to go here and we have to go here. And I thought it did a really
is it called that because they have to be in four different places at once?
Yes,
okay.
They have to hit 4 houses. So that's why it's called. I thought that was cute too.
It is super cute. Another controversial that we didn't bring up was The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen
I've
it.
never seen it.
Do you have an opinion on The Nightmare Before Christmas?
I think it's a really great movie.
Okay.
What were you asking me? Whether it's a Christmas movie?
For some people, they're all in. Like I have a cousin Audrey. It's her favorite movie
Ever. Yeah.
And then for some people, like they'll decorate like the black and white and they go for it. And then for other people, it's like for me, if I don't see it, I don't see it. Like it's not. I think it's fine. I don't love it. But for me, that's one of those like divided, right? Like there's people that adore it,
and we're back to the stop motion there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right.
I'll check it out this winter.
You'll have to. Well, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
We'll do it again soon.
Oh my gosh, you'll be back again. Thank you to Weis Markets for being the title sponsor of the Midday Show. Holidays are coming up. Be sure to go there. What was the last time you got there?
Got where?
What was the last thing you got there?
At Weis Markets. Milk.
Milk. Oh.
Milk.
And you did pump gas. You pumped gas at the new tanks.
I get gas all the time. And now my Gas and Go rewards, because when I use my card, you build up gas points.
Yes.
But before you had to go to, because they didn't have the pump at the Weis Markets. Now that the Weis Market's there, I'm going to cash in, or now that the pump is there, I'm going to cash in my rewards point every year. But
and I'll make I don't go to Weis often, but I will make a plug for them. Their pizza's really good.
Yeah.
I like their pizza.
If you want a nice fast takeout party tray, good stuff.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
And my mommy told me stop and get milk, and I did because I'm a good son.
Hopefully, we helped you out with your holiday movie viewing. Excited for the season. I might go watch Muppets Christmas Carol tonight. I'm jazzed up.
You need to check out Beautiful Girls.
I will check out, and
appreciate
I will
Yeah,
have
you and Hannah watch it.
I'll have Hannah watch it because apparently that is the litmus
It
test
is.
now.
it. She is teetering on the edge of Mark friendship.
I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Thank you again to Joe Smith. Be sure to check him out at NorthcentralPa.com under North Central Cinema. Happy holidays. December's right around the corner. I'm excited. Are you excited?
Yeah, I like this time of year.
And
I
God
really
bless us, everyone.
do. I really do.
Thank you guys for watching the